Well, g'day, and welcome back again to Jiaoqing. And today, well, we've just done the previous two videos in the museums. We've been to the bakery, we've got our stuff to take home for dinner. And on the way home, thought we might do another video. Why not? So, this time we are responding to a video that Jerry made a couple of weeks back from Jerry's Take on China. I'll link his video down below in the description so you can go and have a look, and if I can figure out how to do it, I'll try and get it to appear up here or up here, wherever they appear in the screen. I don't know, I'm still sort of figuring all that stuff out. But he made a video entitled something along the lines of "Could, would and should China help America?" So we're going to talk a little bit about that, because I found it, the stuff that Jerry said, I agree pretty much wholeheartedly with him. As with most of his takes on stuff, he does do a lot of stuff that I do tend to agree with. But yeah, I've been ever since I watched that video, it's been rattling around in my brain with different thoughts going around. So we're just going to have a chat about that on the way back. So, welcome trolls. It's another one that I'm probably going to get a few comments on from the China hating brigade, but so be it. Welcome aboard. Thanks for giving me another view. So, could, would and should China help America? It's an interesting question. Just before we go, all of these buildings, this is what we're walking past at the moment. This is one ginormous big restaurant. It's also got rooms over the other side of the road there. They've got the sort of main kitchen area is in here on our left here. But then up and down is all separate rooms that people will go and sit in. And in the evening, you'll see the staff wheeling, you'll see behind us here, hello, these carts here, wheeling these carts up and down to the different rooms with different meals along the footpath. That's really cool. Apparently, that is one of the oldest restaurants in Jiaoqing. I think it was built originally in the mid-80s. I think 1984, if I remember rightly. It was built here. Prior to that, I don't know, they might have been it might be a lot older than that and have existed somewhere else. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's pretty cool. I've not actually eaten there, but walk past there regularly. This road that we're actually walking up, they actually close this off to traffic of the evening. Well, they used to. I haven't been down here for a long time in the evening time, but they certainly used to close this off to traffic. And they would have sort of all sorts of stalls and stuff set up. Clothing, handbags, all sorts of tech stuff, phone repair places, all things like that. Big bike shop on our right here, lots of bikes hanging up in the roof. So, getting back to the topic of the video, could, would and should China help America? So, we're going to go through each of them, the could, the would and the should. So let's start with could. Could China help America? In terms of the actual action of doing stuff, yes, China could. China's got the capacity. So actually, before we get into there, let's just go back a little bit. So a couple of years ago, maybe a few years ago, there was a report that came out by the American government which had some phenomenal number of bridges and dams that were, I can't remember the phrase that they used, but were in a seriously neglected position. and were viable to be falling down, collapsing. From everything that I've heard, American infrastructure is woefully underfunded for the upkeep and repair of a lot of infrastructure, that kind of infrastructure in America. So, and from what I sort of heard, the cost of fixing it would be huge. I don't know that America could afford to just jump in and fix everything. So they could certainly use some help. So could China help? Yes. They have the resources, they have the people. And I think if somebody comes to China and asks for help, I think they also have the desire. Everything that I've seen shows that China is willing to get out and help other countries when other countries come and ask for help. I'm sure they'd probably want something in return, stopping these silly tariffs or whatever. Nobody's going to do it for free. But yes, China could help. China has the capacity. Could they help from the other side? And that is, if China offered to help, would America as a country be willing to receive that help? And with that, you get a totally different answer. I think America has scared itself so shitless about China. They're so paranoid about anything to do with China that if China offered to help, would America actually let them? And I'd be a lot more dubious about that being able to happen. Because they have a narrative to keep up. The leadership in America, the politicians, the media, all that, I'm pretty sure they all know that what they're saying is about China is absolute bullshit. But they have the narrative to keep up, and if they suddenly start allowing China in, there'd be all the fear mongering, the bridges, they're all going to have cameras in them or something. And when you look at other things, Huawei being banned in America, which, okay, telecommunications, that's more of a national security thing. But then, DJI, banning DJI drones, because I don't even know why. The cameras on the drones, they're not showing anything you can't see on Google Earth. So you're not really hiding anything. The only reason they're being banned is because they own, I believe, about 70% of the consumer drone market in the world. And the American companies can't compete. So, for me, that's why they are being banned. So, getting China to come in and do any sort of infrastructure stuff, I can't see it happening. So, would China help? Very, very similar sort of answer. I believe they would, but I also think there would need to be concessions. America would have to stop the lies. Stop funding efforts to subvert the government in China. The stuff that went on in Hong Kong. A lot of that was paid for by groups such as the CIA, such as USAID. They funded a lot of groups who were stirring up a lot of the trouble in Hong Kong. All the garbage about Xinjiang. the stuff about Tibet. I've recently watched a couple of videos on the history of Tibet, and that's really, really interesting. The the Dalai Lama was on the seat of the National People's Congress here. He had a seat in the organisation running the country, a leadership role, and then he says they have no say in their own place. Well, that's rubbish. You had say, you walked away from it. Yeah, it's just baloney. So, if China was to offer aid to America, they would require some things. They would require certain sanctions to be lifted, such as actually we've just seen President Trump has decided to allow NVIDIA to export these high-level chips again. I don't believe it's out of any sort of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't believe it's any sort of honest, goodwill sort of thing. I believe the reason he's done that is because of the progress. They tried to stop Huawei, and Huawei's just invested a heap of money in chip development, and they've caught up a hell of a lot quicker than was expected by the powers that be in America. It's turned out that their big chip ban was a failure because China just said, right, we're going to spend the money and we're going to develop our own stuff, and they did it, and they did it very, very well. And they have largely caught up with America now. They're still a bit behind, but they're not nearly as far behind as they were expected to be. Okay, so behind us here is the school that was mentioned, the #1 secondary school of Jiaoqing. Now, secondary school, sort of, you have lower and upper. I'm pretty sure that is the #1 middle school of Jiaoqing that was mentioned in the previous video when we were talking about the sort of education here. Where were we? Would China help America? So yes, if America decided to become an honest partner in dealings, I think China would help America. Because I think it would be good for America. It would also be good for China, spreading goodwill, developing relations, all that sort of stuff. It would add a lot to both countries if they could actually work together. The problem is, I don't know that America really wants to share much of anything. It's a very, very basic difference between the two countries, which showed in Donald Trump's election campaign slogan, "Make America Great Again." It was all about, making America #1, making America the best. China doesn't care about being the best. China cares about, okay, we're going to continue improving, making our country better. It's not about making it great again. When was America actually great? You know, America's always had problems, just like everywhere else. It really depends on what metrics are you using to be able to call the place great. You know, if you just go on economy, you know, you're missing out a whole lot of social stuff. If you just go on social stuff, you're missing out on a whole lot of economic stuff. So China doesn't really play that game. You know, there's a lot of talk in the Western media about China's economy is going to overtake America in the next however long, 2 years, 5 years, whatever. And it seems to be a big focus for them, you know, China getting ahead of America. I don't really see that sort of stuff in the media here. They don't really seem to care whether they're number one or whether they're number 101. What they care about is the quality of life here. They're not going to compare themselves to anywhere else because anywhere else is irrelevant. If people are happy here, it doesn't matter what's happening anywhere else. Just be satisfied, you know, just do the best you can for your people. And a lot of the leadership in America seem to have forgotten that, which is a bit sad, really. I mean, I've said many, many times before, the American people deserve better leadership than they have at the moment. You know, American politicians are not my favourite group of people in the world at the moment. I'm perfectly willing to be honest about that. Right, waiting at lights here. And the last part of that title, could, would, should China help America? This is one that sort of, I'm sort of torn about this one a little bit. Part of me wants to just say no. They shouldn't bother. Let them suffer. They've brought this upon themselves. But then I have to go back to what I often say. When I'm talking about America, I really have to differentiate between the American people and the American system. And it would be really nice if the American people could be helped without also helping the American leadership. But I don't know that you could separate the two. I think you help one, you're going to help the other. There's not really much separating it. You know, just an emotional reaction to the question, should China help America? I would, you know, emotionally go, no, screw them. They've been screwing over China for years. Time for them to die by the wayside. But then you think about the American people, and a large percentage of them are also not satisfied with their own political leadership, both left and right. Both sides of politics in America are just as bad as the other. There's no real distinction between them in my mind. They're all failures. They all lie. They are all far, far less than honourable. They just don't deserve any respect whatsoever. But change that question, should China help America, and put it on an intellectual rather than an emotional basis. Yeah, I think they should. They should try. Whether or not America will accept or allow that help is a different question, but that's up to America. China could still offer, and and it would be fine. But yeah, I do think they should. As I mentioned earlier, in helping America, it's also going to be helping China in terms of, you know, people-to-people exchanges, in terms of, you know, if China helps America, America's gonna, well, I was going to say they are going to be sort of duty-bound to help China in return. But I don't know that there's enough honour in the political system in America for them to really care about that. But you know, they're going to have something to repay China. And you know, that's whether or not that would happen is another question. I would be skeptical, but I think it would be worth it for China to try. The other thing, you know, if China went in and started helping America with some of the infrastructure in America that is in a very, very bad way at the moment, I think that would help bypass the politicians, and the American people would change their attitudes about China. And maybe if China could do that, change the attitudes of the people who have been brainwashed. You know, I don't blame the American people who believe China is this huge, big, bad thing. Oh, this looks like we have beer festival coming up again. Okay, we'll have to, we got any dates up there? I can't see any dates yet. Have we got a Q? We have got a QR code. All right, let's hold on here a minute. We're just going to take a quick snap of these QR codes. Let's quick snap of that one, and then a quick snap of these ones over here. And we'll do a bit of research later and try and find out when that beer festival's happening again. Where was I? Yes, if China could come in and do some stuff, even if they get nothing out of the political system in America for it, if they can start changing the minds of the American people are going to start pushing back on the narratives that they've been fed. Which is another reason why I would believe that the American political system would not allow China to come in and help in any way, because that would destroy their narrative very, very quickly. Yeah, it was really interesting to see when the whole TikTok ban thing was in the news, and a lot of people jumped onto Red Note. A lot of people were discovering things about China that they never knew, they'd never seen, they never understood. They were learning a whole lot of stuff that their government had told them or had neglected to tell them about. It's one thing I've mentioned before. There are a lot of people in America who don't trust their government and yet still believe everything they're told about China. I've mentioned before, there was a sort of online, YouTube media company, news company that I used to follow on here on YouTube. And you know, they were always talking about don't trust the media, don't trust the politicians. But then they would just report any government report about China as 100% factual. And I commented on several of their videos sort of saying this, you know, you don't trust their government. Why are you trusting what they say about China? Why do you believe that, but not everything else? Never got responses, which I'm not surprised. You know, I never expected a response. They have millions of subscribers and thousands of comments probably every hour. So I ended up just unsubscribing and just stopped following them, because while I agreed with a lot of their views, you know, defending a lot of what you'd call leftist policies, there was no pushback on anything that was said about this place. And yeah, I just got fed up. I hate that kind of hypocrisy where, you know, I don't believe what the government says, but then when they say it about China, we'll just report it like it's fact. That's just not good enough in my mind. And there's a number. Yeah, I've said it before, you know, I'm a self-admitted leftist. Most of my sort of political beliefs are left-leaning. You know, gun control, you know, gay rights, you know, supportive of gay marriage and all that sort of thing. A lot of sort of left-leaning things, not all. You know, as we mentioned in a video the other day, you know, talking about immigration, we were responding to comments, that's right. And as things stand at the moment, I'm all for immigration. But if a country wants to change, you know, as far as I know, in America, once an immigrant reaches the American shore, they're allowed to apply for residence permits, and you know, legally they are allowed to go and have their day in court. They're not illegal immigrants until they've had their day in court, which that is, as far as I'm aware, the law. Now, if America wants to stop all this immigration, if that's what the country chooses they want to do, I will support them wholeheartedly, 100%. But what they're doing at the moment, just rounding up immigrants and shipping them off to countries where the immigrants don't even come from, have no contacts, don't speak the language, and goes against what the American legal system says, that's not good enough. Before you do that, change the laws. Make the laws the way that you want them, then start doing that. I would support them 100%, but I don't support the way it's being done now. Same with Trump's tariffs. I mean, that was just so ridiculous the way he did that. Well, we're just going to tariff everybody because they want American producers back on shore. That's fine. I got no problem with tariffs. But if you're going to tariff things, you need the infrastructure and everything in place in America to be able to start producing as soon as the tariffs are in place. So look at something like, well, they keep changing the tariffs, but look at something like an iPhone. I have heard that if they build the iPhone out and out in America, it's going to cost thousands of dollars to buy an iPhone. Which is fine. If that's what they choose to do, that's no problem. But in the meantime, America's not set up to produce iPhones. It'll take them 5 years to get set up. So for the next 5 years, if the tariff was to remain in place, the American consumers are paying more for a product that they want produced in America, but can't produce in America. It's just ridiculous. You know, while my personal views are very much to the left of the political spectrum, I also, I believe in democracy. I believe in doing what the people want. If we had a plebiscite back in Australia, it was either just before or just after I came to China. Plebiscite, is that the right word? We had a vote on gay marriage, which came out positive. So, you know, gay, lesbian marriage became a thing, which I was very pleased about. I saw no reason not to allow gays and lesbians to live in the same misery that the rest of us have to when we get married. Good luck to yous. But if the vote went the other way and Australia said no to allowing gay marriage, I would have been disappointed, because I think it's only fair for them to have the same rights as everybody else. So I would have been disappointed, but I would have said, yeah, okay then, that's what the people want, fair enough. You know, so yeah, I'm definitely leftist, but I'm not going to try and argue against every policy that I disagree with. I might not, no, argue is the wrong word. Dispute? I don't know. You know what I mean. Once the people have made up their mind, they've made up their mind. Yeah, I don't know. I've just been waffling. I don't know where we're going with this conversation. But what have we got? We've been going just over half an hour. We'll probably end up there. So, to finish off, would, could and should China help America? I think yes to all three, provided America is willing to accept help, which I'm not convinced that they would be. I think they would fight against it every step of the way, because as I said, America has a narrative to keep up, and accepting help from the big red enemy would seriously make people question their narrative. So yeah, they could, they would, and they should. I'm pretty firm of the belief. Really, it's up to America to decide what they want. We can't decide for them. So yeah, that's about it for us. As always, Facebook, A Scot in China. Come and join the group. We are posting various stuff there, occasional photos that I take around the place. We also have different news articles, different videos and stuff that I find wandering over Facebook. I'll share in there. And yeah, hopefully as the community grows, we get some conversations. If you've got stuff to share there, feel free to share it and get involved with the community. We'll see how we go, see if we can get a community built. But for now, like, share, subscribe, all that wonderful stuff. Questions or comments, hit us up down in the comment section. Come on, trolls, give us your best shot. And as always, if there's anything you would like to learn about life here in China, in Guangdong, especially here in Jiaoqing, again, down there in the comment section, hit us up with your questions. You come up with a good idea for a video, we'll go away and look at making a video for you. But for now, thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe, and we will see you all in the next one. Cheers.